science project. Multiple systems work together to help us keep us alive, allow us to kick, jump, run, and among other things. Now, many of these systems are important, but one of the most important, and one of my personal favorites, is the circulatory and the respiratory system. Now, what is that? What is this? Well, the circulatory system is basically the train of the body. It transports oxygen, nutrients, and waste around the body. It is basically responsible for keeping us alive. Well, I mean, not the other. I made a little diagram of this system. Now, there is 4 chambers of the heart: the right atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. And there's several door-like things called valves. Valves essentially keep blood flowing one way instead of, flowing the other way and, not delivering what they need to do. Now, what it does, we're going to start off this cycle at the pulmonary vein, which is the vein that travels back to the heart from the lungs. It goes into the left atrium, to the left ventricle, then to the aorta. The aorta arrives to the body, the rest of the body, and is delivered to the cells through tiny little vein-like tubes called capillaries. Capillaries are very, very small. What it does is it diffuses oxygen, making the cell being able to do cell respiration, and carbon dioxide gets transported back to the lungs to be inhaled. After the cell respiration, which is where it gets oxygen and glucose to make energy and byproducts such as carbon dioxide, the carbon dioxide gets in the blood, which makes it turn dark red. Then it travels to the vena cava, back to the right atrium, to the right ventricle, then gets pumped into the pulmonary artery, and then starts the cycle again. You could see that the lungs help here because they supply the oxygen for the cells. Now, let's get into what the respiratory system is. It basically consists of the trachea, lungs, and other parts. Here's a little diagram of the lung. So what happens is the oxygen goes into the trachea, then it splits in two and makes the bronchi. The bronchi split into several different bronchioles, sorry my pronunciation, until it's very microscopic. I didn't draw the microscope because it's very small. Then there's tiny little sacs there called alveoli. Alveoli is where the interchanging of gas happens. Then it is exhaled. Besides the lungs, there are other things that help with breathing. For example, the diaphragm and the rib cage. Now what happens is that when you breathe in, the diaphragm contracts and you could say kind of flattens, and the rib cage, it expands, allowing the high pressure area to be here and the low pressure area here. And since air travels from high pressure to low pressure, the air goes inside the lung. Then the diaphragm becomes normal to its normal thing. And what it does after that is that it becomes normal, and the rib cage goes in, making the high pressure area inside the lungs and the low pressure outside. So then the carbon dioxide goes outwards. As you can see, these systems in this diagram, they interlock. They interlock because the lungs supply the oxygen for the body system, the circulatory system, to deliver. As you can see, this system is very important and crucial for cell survival. If it weren't for my circulatory system and my respiratory system working together, we would die. Now we're going to see a little science experiment about the circulatory system. This is basically how blood flows. So here is the right atrium, the right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. So we're going to use water as our experimental thing. I put water already in here because it needs a very large amount of water. Now we're gonna pour it in here. Actually, how I have a faster way of doing this. So here we go. As you can see, it is pumping through what is supposed to be the valves into the ventricle, which is pumping out, which is, if we do enough pressure, will pump into the thing, which will pump into the right ventricle, which is supposed to symbolize the body, and then the vena cava. Right. As you can see, right now it is in both chambers and the circulation worked. It took a pretty long time, so we had to cut it. But it also, I forgot to mention, for this experiment, I used tubing from Home Depot, 4 alkaline water bottles, and this substance, which is is a foam expander. It is very sticky, and it's waterproof. If you get it stuck to your hands, like my dad and I did, you will not get it off in a very long time. It took me about 45 minutes of. It took me 30 minutes of deep rubbing just to get off. I highly recommend you use gloves and protective eyewear just in case it gets in your eyes. Here's another experiment. This is the respiratory system experiment. It shows how the lungs breathe. Here, this balloon represents the lungs. Both were difficult to do, so I did one. This rubber band here represents the diaphragm, and this is the trachea. So, as you can see, when the diaphragm contracts and when it does that, the lung expands. When it goes like that, it's back to normal. See? And you can keep doing this. Though this has safety precautions, there is hot glue involved in the air seal tight air seal. So please be careful, and you maybe consult an adult before you put glue gun, and do not burn yourself. Thank you for watching my science video. I hope you liked it, Miss Pills, and the rest of my class. These are my sources I used. There's in total 6 sources. So if you cannot see it well, Miss Pills, I will either A, make sure to turn this into you, or B, I'll put it in the editing. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said before, have a good day. Bye.